What's up, Internet? My name's Ori. It is Wednesday, August 20th, day number 44 inside the Big Brother house. Keanu rats out Rachel. There's a Mickey expose party, and a new alliance forms. All rise as the judges take the stand. Let's talk about that, plus all the intel drama and more from yesterday's live feeds. But first, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Speaking of, I do owe you guys a watch party. There is an episode tonight. We will be here live, going over that episode, reacting to it with you guys in chat. It's always a lot of fun. Make sure you guys come on out for that. But a little bit of a recap. If you guys have not been keeping up with everything going on, Rachel won HOH and she nominated Mickey, Morgan, and Vince. Lauren then went on to win the power of veto, using it to save Vince from the block. Rachel then named Riley as the replacement nominee, sending shockwaves through the house. Yesterday, we start up with Ava or Ashley and Will, excuse me. Usually it's Ava and Will. This was Ashley and Will kind of just talking about everything that's been going on with Mickey, how they're really done with her as far as how she's been playing this game. But Ashley really does stress that even as much as Mickey annoys her, Riley has to be the one to go this week and they have to break up the showmance. Will says one thing that we got to be careful of is Ava might actually be considering keeping Riley. A lot of people thought that Ava was upset yesterday because Riley was going on the block. That actually wasn't really the case. It was more Vince, but we'll talk about that because it comes up. So that was kind of a situation they were looking at. And then they go on to talk about, hey, maybe we should try and form a little bit of an alliance with Morgan and Rachel. We could even bring in Vince as a potential fifth, even if it ends up just being kind of temporary and fake, but we can use him as a number to kind of make sure that we can get Riley out this week. We then end up getting this alliance talk kind of really getting up and moving as Ashley goes to meet up with Rachel and eventually Will and Morgan join as well. And they go over all the stuff that Mickey's been doing, how much that Riley needs to go as well. And kind of in that order, it would be Riley and Mickey who need to go this week. Morgan actually really pushed that Vince is somebody they could bring on in. He's wanted to work with Rachel for a really long time, and he would be down to vote out Riley this week. They start going over everything that Mickey has been doing as well. This is a real full on Mickey expose party as Rachel reveals that Mickey told her Morgan was coming after her. Also, they talk about how Keanu had told Rachel that Morgan was going after Rachel. So all kinds of stuff was coming out. And then even we ended up getting Will saying that, yeah, Mickey said she was going to use Ava as a pawn this entire time. Every time like a new revelation would come out about what Mickey was up to, Ashley was just like, over and over, just a complete shock face and gasps to each new thing that would end up coming out. Eventually, though, they're like, hey, let's go try and get Vince. And Morgan goes off to try and find him. Problem was, he was in the middle of a chat with Keanu. And while that chat was going on with up in the HOH room, Vince was with Keanu, reassuring him that guess what? Keanu, my loyalty is with you and Riley, and I will keep Riley over Morgan. And no matter what, I will keep Riley this week. So Vince was kind of already in a whole nother meeting about how he was going to make sure to keep Riley this week. And then he gets pulled into this. He doesn't go right away. Eventually, Will had to come on down and get Vince to come on up. But once Vince eventually joins, they all kind of continue to go over the whole situation. They start telling him all the stuff they were talking about Mickey and Riley. And Rachel really kind of pushes that, yeah, Riley should be the one to go and that showmances are really dangerous. Kind of ironic coming from Rachel right now, not gonna lie. Then eventually we do get Will who suggests the name because they were like, oh, what should the name be, right? Like maybe it should be like something to do with like jury, right? Because that would be funny. They kept talking about who should be in jury, right? So Will ends up suggesting the name the judges. We'll actually see if that sticks because a little bit later on they were like, I don't know if that's cute enough. We should come up with a cuter name. So we'll see how that ends up going. But the judges are Ashley, Rachel, Will, Morgan, and Vince. That is your 5-person alliance here. And again, their goal this week would be to vote out Riley, then Mickey, but no matter what, keep Morgan safe this week. We do get Morgan kind of meeting up with Vince saying, like, hey, do you think you could even sway Keanu to potentially vote for me to stay? Vince dances around that one a little bit. And Vince also says, like, hey, listen, like, I told Mickey about the whole Rachel throwing the heavy hitters thing out there, right? And instead of it just being like, hey, you know, Rachel knows about the heavy has thrown about told people about the heavy hitters. We should be careful. Mickey then ratted that to Rachel, who then ratted that to Keanu, and then Keanu went back to Vince. So he's like, that just made a whole mess for me. Morgan ends up admitting that like I actually knew about Mickey's power kind of the whole time, and that I thought it would be good because it would end up protecting us as a four. So I kind of kept that a secret. And then Vince also kind of questions like, right, like if Mickey were to stay, who would actually target Mickey this week? Morgan insists that somebody actually will, and Vince is like, Evan's like, that might be like the one thing where maybe I would have to question where my vote would be is Mickey versus Riley. And Morgan's like, no, you can't do that. We got to stick with this new alliance. It has to be a thing. So do not do that. We do also get Keanu telling Morgan, like, hey, I've already promised my vote to Riley. So just so you know, I'm not going to be voting for you if you're up there against Riley. But we also get Keanu confirming to Riley that Rachel is trying to get a group together to flip the vote against him this week. So Keanu full on ratting out Rachel. Keanu, you're doing so well there, buddy. You were doing so well there, buddy. And now kind of throwing that a little bit of away. We'll see if this actually comes out more or if more comes from that. But yeah, Keanu ratting out Rachel right now, which oh, you hate to see it because I love that duo of Rachel and Keanu. We ended up getting Vince and Ava kind of meeting up. It was a bit of like an emotional chat where Ava was having a rough time. Talks about how it was just a really bad day yesterday. She was kind of upset too, and people thought it was about Riley. But she does admit, like, hey, Vince, it was actually kind of because of you. Like, I was a little bit frustrated. It seemed like you were almost upset to come off the block, and then you had to have all these one-on-ones, and it just seemed like it was just something going on, and it made her head spin. Vince ends up saying he was, he didn't really mean that, right? He was just like, well, now I guess I have to figure out where things are. So I got to go talk to people. And he does kind of his old Vince schmoozing thing where he's like, oh yeah, everything's good, or I think we could do a lot together. And then they eventually start talking about what the potential vote would be. He said that, he'll vote out Riley and says that, too many people right now think he's with them. And that's kind of an issue for him. And Eva reassures him, like, she won't repeat anything that happens in this chat. Like, whatever happens stays between us. And one of the things they kind of realize is that they would end up being the swing votes this week and could really decide who ends up staying or going. Vince ends up meeting with Kelly, and Kelly kind of asks Vince, like, "Hey, what's up? Did you get Ava on board to keep Riley?" Vince says yes, though there wasn't necessarily like a full agreement on that from Ava. Just in general, the idea that they would get to choose who would end up staying. Vince, does want Riley around as a shield, he says, and Kelly actually mentions, like, hey, like, I think eventually we got to get Catherine out, but that is not something that I would really want to do. Then that would have Riley even closer to us if we can get somebody else to take Catherine out for us. And then they also even end up discussing how Lauren right now has a perfect social game where almost everybody loves her. Nobody's really looking at her as somebody that they want to get out of the house right now. They might nominate her as a pawn, right? Like that would be a possibility. But if she was up there against somebody, she would be 100% safe. Probably the only ones where it would be a question is if it was something like Lauren versus Ava, because both of them would be so safe against everybody else in the house, against each other. That's where you might have a question on who would end up going. So that's just kind of where Vince and Kelly are at the moment. We then end up with some stuff with Catherine and Riley. Catherine ends up going to confront Riley because apparently she had said something or he had said something to Kelly. I was a little confused on all of the drama with this. I'll be honest, I don't like their drama. Right? We had the whole discussion yesterday, which some went well, some did not. It was an interesting little chat in the feeds. I think there were some good back and forth where people were kind of talking about their different viewpoints. I think some people completely misunderstood my point, but then there were also others that I think kind of understood but also disagreed. And we were able to have some really interesting chats back and forth. But overall, it's just a weird dynamic between the two of them. I think one of the biggest things that my issue is while yes, it is not fun to watch this all play out. It is not, good behavior that you want to promote, which I hope that nobody took that away, that I was actually saying that everything was fine with what Riley was doing. That was not what I was intending to say. In general, I just think it's just too much of a complex situation with everything that goes on in the game in general. I think a big thing that you have to keep in mind is the Big Brother house is a crazy pressure cooker that completely warps your reality. There is no outside world, and you can't really take things from the outside world and put them into the Big Brother game one to one, just because the dynamics are so much different when there's a game going on for $750,000. I think in general, also, Big Brother is just a game that is full of emotional manipulation and abuse for every house guest. Go and ask any house guest if you have a chance. Ask a former house guest. Do you have issues coming out of the house? Every single one of them will tell you yes. Every single one of them have some kind of issue that they work out after the show, because that's what this show does to you. It messes with your head in a way that you just cannot understand unless you went through it. And that's what every single one of these house guests say. So it's one of those things where I try not to have too much judgment on the person, and I try and keep things focused on the player. Sometimes that gets lost. It gets me more in trouble than anything else because people just want me to call people out for all kinds of different things, but that's just not my style. I try and give people as much opportunity to learn and grow themselves and be able to, right any of the wrongs that they were potentially doing. It's only then when they show me and double down, like, oh, yeah, no, I am that person that you thought I was. But then I'm like, yeah, let's just kind of cut ties here. That's kind of always been my issue of really going against anything that the players do in there, even if it does seem really wrong. Because there has been lots of times where people were emotionally abused in that house and nothing happened. Look at Taylor and everything that went on in her season. She was very much bullied. I don't think anybody can really argue with that fact. Big Brother did not do anything about their bullies because it's part of the game. Now, there is a whole nother dynamic here with the whole relationship, and that is just a complete other mess that also points me back to where I end up thinking it's at very least not my place to say what should be going on in here, because there is just so much dynamics at play that it's just got lots of question marks on who really wants what. And one of the other things I struggle with as well is not giving Catherine the credit that she can handle herself. I get it, right? When you're in a situation like that, it can completely warp your mind as well. And then again, you're in the Big Brother house, so it wouldn't even make it any easier with that. But everything that I do see is that Catherine does set out, boundaries. Riley will push against them, absolutely. But Catherine will repeatedly set those boundaries and not let him cross it unless she ends up wanting it to. So I think overall, she does have a little bit of a control in there. And then the biggest thing of all, I understand the concern. You can always be concerned for house guests in there. But I do think Catherine is 100% safe in there. There will be nothing that would happen to her. Nothing's 100%. Anything can always happen, right? You never know. But I think she's the safest in there that she possibly could be. She's way safer in that house in this situation than she would be if she was outside of that situation. And at the end of the day, these are strangers, right? We watch them on the live feeds, we watch them on the episode. As much as we want to say that, oh, we know who this person is, we don't. At the end of the day, we're strangers who only know so much about these people. So, again, that's why I kind of try not to even put an opinion out like this, because I just don't think it really is my place at the very least. And that's something that I think I wanted to get across a little bit better as well. I think a lot of people were saying, how dare you say I can't comment? Hey, you can comment. You could say whatever you want about whatever situation. I just have my personal opinion on how that should go. And like I said, there were a lot of good comments in the comment section and discussions that we were having. Because one of the things that I always try and do here is I never want you guys to think I'm 100% right. Like I said, I'm just a goofy dude on the internet who doesn't know what he's talking about. But one of the things I truly believe is good conversations, especially with people who disagree, are how you learn and grow, and you not maybe understand exactly, what they're trying to say, but at least come away with a better a view of what their opinion is. You may never agree, but maybe you can understand each other just that little bit more. And I think those are all like wonderful things that we can do here. And I think there were a lot of good chats like that, but not so much, but it is what it is. Like I said, let's just wrap up the Catherine Riley topic here. Cause like I said, they were going back and forth just about how apparently, Riley said that Catherine was mean and she didn't like that. He says oh no, I didn't say that, but it was a joke. And there was lots of, back and forth. Oh, kiss me. And she's like, no, no, I'm setting the boundaries. And it's a thing. Though eventually she does kind of crawl into bed with him as well. And he complains more about not getting kisses. So it's just more of the same of their dynamic back and forth. And again, I don't 100% know exactly what's going on there. So it's where I kind of hold my tongue on a little bit. Um, Moving on though, where are we at? Vince ended up meeting with Lauren. So he told her, like, listen, there's a group of five, right? Like they all want to boot Riley. Vince tells Lauren he's evicting Mickey no matter what, though, right? I don't care what they want to do. If Mickey is up there on the block, I'm voting to evict her. And he really wants that Riley and Morgan need to win, so he doesn't really have too much that he has to go against in that situation. Vince says if Mickey wins, he might have to vote out Riley. And one of the big things is Lauren and Vince, they end up becoming the swing vote. So Vince is just telling everybody that we're the swing votes. Rachel, Morgan, Ashley, and Vince all stay up real late. And they were talking about just different game stuff, how things are going with this new alliance, where the votes will potentially be, and just really kind of solidifying that Riley is the one that has to go this week. And then we even get Rachel and Vince who meet up and have a chat alone. And they go on for a really long time here, just kind of again talking about like how things are. They're trying to patch up their whole relationship here. This is actually maybe like the first time they actually have a chance to work together and it be a legit thing because they go over how the heavy hitters was never really real and it could have worked, but it just didn't work. And Rachel tells him that, yeah, it was Morgan who really pushed this for you, Vince. Like she was the one who really convinced me, like, yeah, Vince wants to work with you and we can make this happen. So it does seem like, while I think there's distrust on Vince and Riley right now. Like they don't 100% trust each other. I think there is a little bit of an attempt there where Rachel's like, you know what? If these people are vouching for him, I will give it a try. I think I'll keep my guard up, but I'll at least give it an attempt. And the guard up is a good thing because Vince is making moves behind the scene. Let's go over the votes because things could get a little bit crazy here this week as we head on into eviction night. Let's take a closer look here at our allegiance chart to see how things have changed. Because, yes, they have changed a few significant changes as well. Let's take a look here. As you can see, there's been some movement. Morgan has moved from the bottom. I have her now just a little bit below Vince over on that other side. I think she's in a really decent spot over there. Still even above Ashley, because I think Ashley just overall is at the bottom of that group. But I do think in that with Ava and Will, Ashley might have a little bit more credit with them, but I think they would also end up seeing Morgan as maybe somebody who's more valuable to their game than Ashley would. So that even could be a reason why she's a little bit higher up. And then another big switch up here, and probably the only other two, is Vince finds himself in that middle egg spot. He is just chilling out in the middle right now and has a lot of decisions he's going to have to make. Keanu, I end up pushing a little bit closer to right of center because he is just so hardcore for keeping Riley this week. And he's over there with Kelly and Catherine, but he is still trying to keep those connections with Rachel, even though he throws Rachel under the bus to Riley. So that's why I still have a little bit over to the side there. But Vince is a big one here who's going to have to make a lot of decisions going into this eviction. Let's start off with the easiest one, Mickey versus Morgan. At this point, I almost see it being unanimous for Mickey to be evicted this week if that ends up being the situation with Mickey versus Morgan. I think Catherine, Kelly, Keanu, Riley, Will, Ava, Ashley, Lauren, and Vince would all vote to evict Mickey this week and keep Morgan in the game. Then, maybe the next most interesting one, because this is where I think Vince would be showing his cards a lot, is if it was Riley versus Mickey, you would end up with Catherine, Riley, or Catherine, Kelly, Keanu, Vince, and Lauren as the five that I would see that would all vote to evict Mickey and keep Riley in the game. On the other side of that would be Morgan, Ashley, Will, and then Ava's also kind of a wild card, right? There is even a potential, right, with some people speculating that she would keep Riley. I think that was all just because she was a little upset yesterday, which really had less to do with Riley and was more to do with Vince. I don't think she's that much of a question mark. I don't think she would vote to keep Riley. But again, that's just kind of my view on it. I think she would end up going where Wills goes, right? In any of these situations. So I think she would end up voting for more, Mickey to leave because Ava's been just as upset with Mickey this past week as everybody else, right? She knows that Mickey wants to put her up as a pawn. So I wouldn't imagine Ava would want to keep Mickey necessarily. But he could end up just voting for Will to keep Mickey. I don't. It is a little bit of a question mark, I guess. Maybe just a little bit. But even with that, I think Lauren and Vince then go and join up with Riley. Vince maybe even potentially, even if he knows Ava will vote out Riley, could potentially vote for Mickey just so he can say the numbers are correct. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out. But that could be a situation where Vince has to show his cards, especially with this new alliance that just formed. And then another interesting one here would be Riley versus Morgan. And this is one too, where I'm not 100% sure what Vince would do. Would he vote to keep Riley? Would he vote to keep Morgan? Ava, I think, would probably be way more on board to keep Morgan than she would Mickey. But also, again, I just don't know if I can see Ava voting to keep Riley in this game because they really don't have that much of a connection at all. And then Vince and Lauren, once again, would also find themselves in kind of a swing vote scenario. If they vote to keep Riley, Riley would stay. If they voted out Morgan, excuse me, if they voted to keep Riley, he would stay. If they voted to keep Morgan, he would stay. So it's one of those situations where Vince, Lauren, and Ava have a lot of power this week because all it takes is 5 votes. Vince and Lauren, especially, they're kind of a duo there. So they could really determine who would leave this week. Will it be Riley? Will it be Mickey? Will it be Morgan? I think Mickey has probably the most shot to actually end up leaving this week in almost all scenarios. If Mickey does not win the blockbuster, I think Mickey will be evicted. But then if we ended up with Mickey winning the blockbuster, it was Riley versus Morgan. That's probably the most interesting one because, again, Vince would really have to show his cards here. Is he with this new Judges Alliance, or is he going to stick with Riley, Keanu, Kelly, and that side of the house along with Lauren? So a lot of questions going on in the vote. It's really going to be interesting to see how this all kind of develops over the next 24 hours here as we get ready to head on into the eviction, which will be tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys all again so much for watching, your love, your support, and even your differing opinions. Because at the end of the day, it's, like I said, one of the big fundamental cores of this community that I've been trying to build here is if you have a different opinion, you are more than welcome. In fact, I encourage you to disagree with me. Like I said, I never want to hear people say, "Oh, Ori is 100% right," even though some people do 100% agree with me. I almost don't want that to be the case, right? I want people to have those dissenting opinions that we can then have really interesting and engaging conversations without all the toxic negativity of personal attacks. Like I said, for the most part, we had a lot of really good conversations yesterday on the video. I had even some people reaching out in other different ways and had some really good conversations there as well. Like I said, I'm always open to those conversations. I never think that my view is 100% locked in as the only way it could possibly be. I'm way more open minded than that. I just think that a lot of times I do think about things a little bit differently than the average person. Sometimes it helps me, sometimes it hurts me. But I do think that is a little bit of something that, makes me more interesting and why people even come and watch this channel to begin with. So I will never change that. I will never apologize for any of my opinions. I will apologize if maybe I misstate them because that I will 100% do. You guys know sometimes I go on an Ori rant. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But it is one of those situations where just at the end of the day, the dark side of Big Brother is not the one that I love talking about. I love the game. I love what happens in the house and how they change their votes and who aligns with who and who's backstabbing who. That's the things that I'm most interested in. The things that are all about the game. Whenever these other, darker sides come up, I always hate even having to talk about it. Why I even avoided trying to talk about it in the first place, just because it's one of those things that's not where I even want to have the conversation go. But sometimes you do have to have those conversations. And like I said, I'm always open to them. I want to hear your opinions because, again, that's how I think we learn and grow as humans is listening to the other side. Like I said, you might never agree, but at least maybe you can walk away understanding the different viewpoints just a little bit better. Thank you guys all again so much. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. We will be here live tonight for a watch party. I owe you guys one. So we'll definitely be here doing that. Check out all the links to my socials in the pinned comment description down below. You can check out things like Twitter and Discord. Discord actually has been really popping off. We just remodeled the whole thing. It's got a new look to it. You can really easily find where different channels are to chat about all your favorite topics, whether it's Big Brother, Survivor, other reality shows like The Amazing Race, maybe The Traders. We've even got places where you can post pictures of your pets or even what you're having for dinner that evening, and just everything in between. We've got sports. We're going to be setting up the Fantasy Football League. That's going to be happening on Friday. So make sure if you're interested, you're going to come out for the Friday morning live stream. And yeah, just a lot going on in the Ori universe here. And I can't thank you guys enough for everything you do to show me that love and support here on the channel, even if you disagree. Once again, thank you so much, and I will see you tonight.
Oh, we're Big Brother. He, she, we brother are Ashley. Brother, we are Big Brother. And from another mother, we Big Brother. Live. Big Brother. We're Big Brother Morgan.
Wow. Okay. Wasn't ready for that.